Welcome to utilizing your Zoom.us account. In this video, we'll talk about logging into Zoom.us for important information such as scheduling and editing meetings, accessing your recordings, confirming and changing your room settings, and viewing and downloading meeting reports. All right, so I'm at my Zoom profile area and want to point out that at this area I can schedule a meeting by looking up in the menu bar, schedule a meeting, or I can click on meetings and I can schedule a new meeting here. As you can see, if I go to the actual meetings tab, I have all kinds of information at my fingertips. I've got some recurring meetings scheduled and I can edit them as I need to by clicking on my meeting and scroll down and click edit this meeting if I needed to. Or I can start this meeting if it's time to start that meeting. But I'm jumping ahead just a little bit. What we should do first is actually schedule a meeting. So let's schedule a new meeting by clicking on the button schedule a meeting. When you get here, you can fill in all of the information. It's going to ask you, do you want to generate a meeting ID or do you want to use your personal meeting ID? We want to generate automatically. That way it's going to be a very random ID. Somebody could not make it up. And we also are going to have that meeting password pre-populated because that's how our account is set up. You can make choices here about host video being on or off as the people come into the room. You can also make choices about how audio works, if you just want people to be able to dial in or if you only want them to be able to use computer audio or both. And then you can make decisions about, do you want people muted when they are entering. You'll notice I skipped the enable join before host. I don't recommend that. Instead, I recommend that you enable a waiting room. This is another kind of security measure that we can put on our rooms, and that way we only let in people's names that we recognize. And when you're ready, click save. And then the Zoom is going to give you your meeting URL. So I want to say a couple of things about this URL. We can copy this URL and send it to anybody that we want to join our meeting. If they use this particular URL, it already has the password embedded inside of it. You see right there where it says PWD. So this link already has the link, the meeting room location, as well as the password embedded in it. So it's just a one click for anyone that you send this to. Again, this is a security measure. We don't publicize these. We limit sharing of these to email, or for teaching purposes, we put them in D2L in the news area, the announcements area, or we use D2L email to share this information. Another way that you can go is you can click copy the invitation. That's going to bring up all of the information. Again, you can see that the password is embedded in the link. If for some reason they did not have this link, this is the meeting ID and this is the password. Again, you could click copy meeting information. You see this green message right here. It's copied to the clipboard. And then you can go into D2L and click create a new news item and paste this information, or you can open an email and paste this information. The important thing to remember is that we want to only share this information with people that we want in our meeting rooms. All right, so I talked about editing meetings. You go back to the My Meetings tab. If I needed to edit any of these meetings, then again, I would just click on the link, scroll down, and click edit this meeting. All right. I want to talk about recordings. I'm going to do another video on recording, so I won't go too deep into recordings right now. I just want to point out that if you were to record to the cloud, this is where you would find your cloud recordings. Like I say, I'm going to do another video on that, so I will just let that be for now. I do want to talk about settings. Settings are important. It's how we set up our Zoom rooms, to our Zoom meeting rooms, to be interactive. And it's also how we keep our meetings safe. You can make choices. I'm not going to read all of these choices to you. There's a lot of them, and you can move through here and see which ones work best for you. I do have a video on making choices to keep your Zoom room safe. You might want to watch that, or I can tell you now, disable join before host. That way people can't get in the room before you're in the room. Scrolling down, and I want to highlight here is where you can turn chat off or on. I like to keep chat on, as we talked about in a previous video. Chat is a way to interact with students. You can prevent participants from saving chat by selecting this button right here. I don't have to turn that on because I work with faculty, and if they need to save something, I think that is a-okay. You can also control whether your participants can have a private chat amongst one another. You can just see, like I said, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but there are some interesting ones. I haven't talked about polling in the other video, but polling is a very fun feature that you can use with your students. You can turn polling on, and then you can ask students questions. You can even do an anonymous poll. Sometimes at the beginning of a class, I'll do an anonymous poll to find out who's actually done the reading, so that I know how much do I need to cover. Can I go straight into discussion? Do I need to do a little bit of review of the reading, just to kind of get a sense of where everyone in the room is? You can use polls in a variety of ways. So you can see a safety measure here is screen sharing is locked for host only. If you needed to give somebody else screen sharing privileges, you could hover over their name in the participants box and make them a host, and then they would be able to share. But again, we've got this locked. That's a safety feature to keep our rooms safe. You can decide whether or not others can annotate on the screen. If you trust the people that are in your room, you can keep this on, and that way other people can use the annotation bar. This enables the whiteboard or disables the whiteboard, depending on whether you have that on. And then we talked about break rooms in a previous video. Here is where you can enable the break room button. We recommend that you enable the waiting room. That way people can be let in one at a time, and you can only let people in whose names you recognize. I'm going to scroll back up because I want to go back to the menu on the left and talk about reports. So you can view meeting reports. If you needed to find out who's in a meeting, you click the generate button, and that's going to generate a report of who attended your meeting. If you had done a poll and you wanted to find out how people responded to the poll, you would click poll report, click the word search. Let's see, have not done any polls in this time range. Let me back up here. There, I did some polls, and there are some reports of some polls. I had 4 attendees here, and we did a poll, so I'm going to click generate. And it gives me a poll reports. Apparently I did a poll report in that room on a couple of different days, so I decide which day I want to look at. I click download, and the Excel file appears at the bottom of the page. All right, so those are some highlights of utilizing your Zoom.us account. Again, we talked about scheduling and editing meetings, accessing your recordings, confirming and changing your room settings, and viewing and downloading meeting reports. Let us know what questions and thoughts you have about Zoom settings. Reach out to us at online.learning@nscc.edu. Thank you.